3 hours a week is not the crime of the century. But even that you've made that connection of being like, it's a crime to be doing this,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
it's like having that argument of like, it's not a crime. Like I can give myself that time means that it is a battle that we kind of have with ourselves and trying to like fight for the time to and possibly kind of like a woeful moment. It was that I was quite snappy with my daughter in the night. She'd got up, she woke up because she said that her room was too dark. I was like, it's because it's the middle of the night. If you close your eyes, then you won't notice how light or dark your room is. But I kind of put her back to bed, and then she was being fussy about how open and closed her door was. And I'm the only one with the invested interest in it within my network, so I am having to, it's no one else's priority. So kind of fighting for the time to do that when I'm not needed.
Hi, Natalie. How are you doing?
I'm good, Helen. How are you today?
I'm good. It feels like it's been a while since I've seen you, but
I
it's not.
know. We've had a
It's
chat,
just
haven't we? But we've not
time.
recorded a podcast for a little bit, I think.
No. So here we are today to record a podcast. And you've got an interesting topic that you'd like to bring, which is great
Yeah.
as usual. And as usual, I've always got a lot to chip in about it. But before we get into the topic, shall we talk about what's woeful and what's wonderful? What's
Yeah,
been
sure.
woeful and one or woeful first for you?
Woeful first. Okay, I was gonna go wonderful first, but let's go woeful first. Okay. So I'm just really tired this week. I don't know if it's where I'm at in my cycle because I don't have a regular cycle, so I can't track it anyway. I'm just tired. And it's probably because my kids had me up in the night, as
Hmm.
typical. And possibly kind of like a woeful moment. It was that I was quite snappy with my daughter in the night. She'd got up, she woke up because she said that her room was too dark. I was like, it's because it's the middle of the night. If you close your eyes, then you won't notice how light or dark your room is. But I kind of put her back to bed, and then she was being fussy about how open and closed her door was. And she was shouting at me instead of just asking. And I really didn't want her to wake her brother up. So I was just kind of like, you need to be quiet because if you wake him up, like I'm going to be awake for ages and I'm very, very tired. So I was quite snappy with her in the night, so I felt really guilty about that. And we hugged it out and it was fine. But yeah, just kind of noticing like that tiredness leads to me being a little bit snappy with her. And I'm just spinning a lot of plates at the minute, which is kind of what we'll get into in the topic I want to bring to us for us to talk about today. But yeah, and then wonderful, kind of, I mean, kind of trying to squash my mum guilt a little bit, I guess, is that the kids are really happy at the moment. They're a lot. My 2-year-old in particular is a lot. He's climbing everywhere, and he's just a very like full of energy 2-year-old. Um, but they're generally really, really happy, and everything is like fairly good at the moment in my little household. And everyone's generally well, and there's general calm within the household as much as there can be with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old and two slightly neurodiverse parents. But there's generally calm, and I'm kind of trying to acknowledge that and notice that. But the busyness and spinning plates and everything is kind of within me, I think, at the moment. So, but yeah, my wonderful is that just taking that moment to notice that everything is generally well and good, and
Good.
that's nice. So yeah, how about
Sounds
you?
important.
What's your woeful and wonderful?
So my woeful, I had a few, but the one I'm picking is because and it's probably quite an unusual one to bring. It's not so much about family, but I just this morning, I'm a bit bleary-eyed as well because my teenagers kept me up in the night because there was a mouse in one of the rooms, and
I'm laughing, but I'm sure it wasn't funny at the time.
well, and it's not very often now that my children come into my bedroom to wake me up, but of course they came in to wake me up. And actually, I just said, "Well, you're going to have to deal with it. You're moving out. You're going to have to deal with it." but then I could hear them laughing and screaming. I actually don't know what's happened to the mice, and it's only now that I'm talking about it, I'm remembering that this. But and then I was awake as well because I've been reading this book, and I want to kind of talk about it in my woeful. I think everybody should read it. I think everybody should read this book, especially people working with children or people who've been through the care system. It's an
Okay.
incredible book, and it's called Outland by Jenny Fagan. And it's the
Okay.
most harrowing, but also the most, I don't know, I just feel I'm kind of struck by it. I feel all sorts of emotions this morning. So I finished it in 2 days.
Oh,
So because of
wow.
that, I feel quite mentally drained. I couldn't put it down, but yes, so I'm putting these two things in my woeful, but they're not really that woeful, but it's making me feel a bit tired, just like you are as well today.
Yeah.
And my wonderful is, I mean, there's lots of, like you, I've got lots of nice things going on at the moment, trying to make the most of the summer with the kids before they leave home. And I think we'll talk about that in another podcast. But I don't know, most people I know are aware I've been on a fitness journey for the past couple of years. And I think my wonderful is the other day I was noticing in the gym, I was doing a bit of looking back at my progress, and it's been incredible. Like I'm lifting really heavy weights. I was actually
Yay.
lifting a deadlift that's heavier than me.
Amazing.
And, you know, I've not had aches and pains in my body. I mean, that was one of the things that I struggle with in perimenopause or menopause. I'm not quite sure where I'm at, but my body feels strong. And because I'm doing that, I feel kind of stronger myself. So it's having an amazing impact on my everyday life. So even when
Nice.
life is tough for me, I'm holding on to this strength that's happening from the inside out. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
my
physical
wonderful.
strength, isn't it? And that kind of ties into that, you know, how you can deal and manage all of the situations that come up as well.
Uh-huh. And it has taken time and consistency and effort. And at times I've had to put myself before everyone else in order to achieve that. But I want to say it's been worth it. You know,
Yeah.
going to the gym for an hour 3 times a week is hardly the crime of the century, you know, and it's been good for me to consistently be doing that. So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
wonderful.
And hey, what a segue into the topic that I wanted to talk about
Exactly,
today as
yes.
well. Well done there. I don't think that was particularly planned, but we
No,
got
it
there.
wasn't. But do you want to name the topic? Do you want to kind of
Yeah.
this
So
into that?
and again, very closely linked to You're Wonderful there, but the topic I kind of wanted us to talk about today, and I think it's going to be really, well, I think it resonates with a lot of the people I interact with, a lot of the women that I interact with in particular, a lot of my supervisees and the people I kind of, and my friends even. It's kind of a chat that comes up, but is fighting for our time to be able to do the stuff that's important to us. Fighting for time to do the things that we need to do and fighting for the time to do the things that we want to do as well. So it really links with what you were saying about kind of 3 hours a week is not the crime of the century. But even that you've made that connection of being like, it's a crime to be doing this,
Mm.
and it's
Hmm.
like having that argument of like, it's not a crime. Like I can give myself that time means that it is a battle that we kind of have with ourselves and trying to like fight for the time to yeah, just do the things that are going to keep us balanced, going to keep us progressing with our health, with our careers. For me at the moment, and one of the big reasons that I'm tired is that my head is really, really busy. I'm desperate to finish my PhD. I really want to get all of my writing finished this year. I know that it's probably going to teeter into next year with all the corrections and things like this and reviewing it all, but I really want to get the big bulk of my writing done this year for my PhD. I've been enrolled since 2018. So it's been a long time kind of on the back burner, and a big reason it's been on the back burner. And I know we've chatted about this a little bit here and there, and whenever I speak to people, they're like, "Well, you've not like been lazy, like," and I know I haven't. Like
Oh,
I've had 2 children, I've moved house, I've had a wedding, I set up my business at the same time that I started my PhD. So I've not kind of not been doing things, and yet this is something that I've been really passionate about and I'm still really passionate about, and yet I'm really having to fight to get the time to do it. Um,
I
yeah,
mean, it's a huge thing to be doing on standalone, Natalie.
yeah,
And I can't help noticing the pressure and where that's coming from because it can only be internal, it's only from inside.
yeah. Oh, yeah. But I think that's
No
kind of
one's
part of,
hanging.
yeah, and I think that's part of kind of my frustrations with it and kind of feeling like I'm having to fight for the time with it. Um, because it is something I'm doing for me. I'm doing it for the greater good of the profession, and I feel like I've got something to say and contribute to kind of my projects about increasing quality of life for people that are supported by other people. So I feel like there's something I've got to give there. So it's definitely kind of a different the values of contribution and connection and
Hmm.
giving back and all those kind of things that came in living through it. And I'm the only one with the invested interest in it within my network, so I am having to, it's no one else's priority. So kind of fighting for the time to do that when I'm not needed by my children, my husband, my colleagues and employees. It's been really difficult. Because
Mm.
I'm so determined, I am putting the pressure on myself at the moment, and I know the pressure's coming from me. Um, and it feels like that fight to get that time, as well as like I'd love to be able to go for a run. And um yeah, there's a club that's come available on a Monday evening, and it's a trampolining club, and for years I've been wanting to get back to doing trampolining. My daughter's doing it and I'm very jealous. And I've wanted to get back, and they've now opened a session on a Monday evening, but my husband has a regular thing on a Monday evening now, so which I've really wanted him to get into, and it's going to be a massive support for him. So I don't want him to not
Mm.
do that, and yet it means that I miss out on
But
something I
in
wanted to
general, I
do.
mean, these are the dilemmas that I think you do women talk about it more, but think women often feel like it's a race against the clock. It's a race against putting everyone else's needs first. There's always trying to do more, getting a sense that we want to prioritize ourselves. And then we're having to squeeze all of that in. I mean, this is everywhere in my life through parenthood and well, just in my life in general, the act has really helped me shift maybe from this time fighting to
Hmm.
values based living
Yeah,
where um because it's not going away. I think this is an internal, it's an attitude, it's our attitude looking out
yeah. I think it's somewhat
towards it.
internal with the pressures we put on ourselves or the things that we want to do. And I think there is an expectation from society, from like our households, from our kind of
Our
subcultures
diaries.
around us, of like, and even that kind of wanting to prioritize ourselves. There's almost like a thing within social media and things now that's like you should be like fitting in self-care. You should be, and there's the should, like all these things you should be doing. I do think there's a pressure kind of out there. But like I said, I don't think I'm the only one. And it would be really
No.
cool if anybody listening resonates with this as well, and have those experiences of where they've had to fight for the time to fit in the things that they feel passionate about or feel like that gets pushed to the back burner or gets pushed aside. And it is a tricky balance, um,
I
and
think
and
for
and
me, the trickiest balance is that from the powerhouse from inside. When something connected to this that happened, or it was made aware to me recently, and now I can't stop noticing it. But I work most days, other than well, no, at the weekends I'm working too, trying to promote my business and organizing retreat and doing all the social media stuff that we have to do. So I constantly feel that I've got something to do, constantly got to think about meals that people are eating, washing, because I live so
hmm
remote, everything takes longer. But my partner was trying to speak to me the other day, and I was like, "Can you just hurry up? Like, I've not got all the time in the world." And I say that a lot. Like, I get frustrated when people are taking time to tell me something because I am on a ticking clock.
Yeah.
And and I want that sometimes that clock just to slow down. But when your diary, when you've got sessions booked in with other people who are relying on you, you can't be late. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tricky
And I
thing
think
to
you
know.
just kind of tied into it then of kind of that noticing and that kind of feeling like I'm in the rush. And again, bringing it back to ACT, like this is where we've connected and the therapeutic approach that we use with a lot of our clients. The thing I'm feeling like I need at the moment, and again, the reason that I kind of was like, this would be a really good topic for us to talk about here, because it obviously relates to women's pressures and goes unspoken because we're having to speak out and fight for that time. But what I'm really feeling like I need at the moment is some grounding, to take a breath, to
Hmm.
stop, to push my feet into the floor, to I struggle with sitting still, and I really noticed this when I went for a PhD writing session in Costa the other day and trying to sit there, and I was like, I am squirming, like it was physically uncomfortable for me to try and sit still and write. But I think part of the grounding that I want to try and get in a little bit more, and again, I want to hear kind of what other people's
Hmm.
grounding things are. But I think something that I'm wanting to do at the minute is go for some of my like productive walks where I'm kind of like touching base with people, like I typically have my phone out or something, so again, I'm appeasing that kind of like wizzy, wushy mind. But I'm like moving my body in kind of like a slow motion, and even doing that helps me kind of look up sometimes and notice what's around me and just kind of helps me ground a little bit rather than being at the computer and my head being busy and my hands trying to keep up with
Hmm.
typing or whatnot. So yeah, that kind of grounding element, I think.
But I guess, it's important to notice. And now that I've had this pointed out to me that I say these things or I put my hand up or I only half listen, that's a good noticing point for me to kind of catch myself and what I'm caught up
Yeah.
in. It's like, oh, you know, is it, I mean, I guess I notice things like I get fused with thoughts like, oh, other people manage things, or if I just work a little bit harder, I'll get on top of things, or if I just see a few more patients, then I'll be able to afford to do this or that. It's just this constant stream of thoughts that I'm
Yeah.
navigating, and actually, I just need to change my relationship with those or untangle
Well,
from
like you
that.
said, it's that notice and pause. Like that's
Mm.
that's a phrase I use a lot with the people that like my clients and those that I kind of support. It's like kind of being able to do that with ourselves, like notice,
Yeah.
pause, like, am I hooked, by this thought? Like, has this kind of like pulling me away? And as you were saying, then it made me think of something that I banned when I worked within a service. And I had people coming up to me from about 4:30 onwards. I banned a particular phrase, and it was the phrase, can you just? Oh,
Hmm.
Natalie, can you just? And as you were saying then, like we've got that internal monologue of like, if I just do this, if I just do that, and I'm like,
It's like, well,
oh,
what do we think will happen if we just do that? Because even when we just do that, there'll be another just do thing just after that. And
yeah,
and I guess that's where your values come in, because I know for me, for example, the girls are going to be leaving home soon. So I want to be more available for my children. So I'm going to have to choose to behave
hmm,
differently when these thoughts are flying around my mind about, well, but if I just do another social media post, if I just get more people into the retreat or, whatever. Yeah. But the constant cost of fighting this time battle that we're probably never going to win as it takes us away from the things that really matter.
yeah. Like you said, it's that kind of no notice, pause, and that kind of check in, isn't it? So that we can
Mhm.
make that choice.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's for me, I begin to notice it. My body definitely feels tense, like I feel wound up like a
mhm.
spring, and I'm kind of there's that constant like feeling I want to move that you're talking about, so really noticing how it feels and shows up in our bodies is really important
Definitely.
for
And
us to
sometimes we
change that.
only catch that after it's happened, don't we? So you're saying there kind of that you might have, and this is the thing where we have to be quite accepting and notice these things for ourselves, because we do this, we support other people to do this, and yet those challenges still show up as well. And I'm thinking of kind of that, the more you kind of practice it, that practicing that notice, pause, checking in, kind of making a choice, the more you can kind of notice the build up before the snap,
Before,
right?
yeah, before the, yeah. And even just to ask the listener, what one thing today have you noticed you might have been rushing through or to, and what might that say about what is important to you?
Yeah, kind of.
Is it an opportunity to check in with that? Because I guess there's always things that we skip by in the day
Yeah.
for the
I know you
for
said like
for the
one thing there, but
time
I'm
fight.
thinking, yeah, I'm just kind of tuning into that as well. That kind of, um, what's one thing that they feel like they're rushing to do and fit in, and then also kind of like what's one thing that they feel like they're fighting
Mhm.
for time for, and why, what around that is important to them, so what is it that they're rushing for and why is that important, and what are they fighting for time around as well, and why is that important? um
Just notice.
yeah,
Mm.
lovely. Shall we go into the open, aware and engaged?
Sure, do you want to go first? And as you started first with
Oh,
woeful and
you've said
wonderful.
that and I was like, I initiated that and I didn't have one to hand, so let me have a little think. Open. I think now that you've touched on that kind of noticing, and I do feel like I notice, like it is something that I feel like I am open to doing, but just having that at the forefront, I think for the next couple of days, I've still got a really busy couple of days, and another writing day on Saturday. So I think kind of having that noticing and pausing and checking in at the forefront of my mind is what I'm going to stay open to. Um, and I'll feed back to you in the next week, Helen, how that's kind of gone for the next couple of days.
Okay.
I'm going to really keep that at the forefront. That's what I'm going to. So there's a bit of a engaged in there as well, I guess. Like notice, being open to having that at the forefront. So open, aware. I feel like that ties in as well, doesn't it? They're not in isolation, any of these things, though, are they? But yeah, being aware that I'm already feeling like this and I've got a busy week ahead. So perhaps even again bringing in the engaged a little bit of pre-planning what I'm going to do around these busy periods, what I'm going to do that's going to ease the squirminess that I'm feeling
Hmm.
when I do need to sit still, and how to perhaps kind of switch on my hyper focus a little bit so that I can engage with this thing. So I feel like my open, aware and engaged weren't very separate there. But
They
they
often aren't, are they?
yeah, they kind of come in
Mm.
together. So yeah, keeping that notice, pause, check in and make a choice kind of at the forefront, I think, and then kind of pre-planning that I have got a good busy couple of days and what I can fit around that's going to help me. I said, didn't I, that kind of grounding is something that I'm really wanting or needing, not even wanting, I'm needing to do with myself, around all the busyness I have at the moment. So pre-planning where that may be or what I could do if I'm feeling
Hmm.
like I need it in the moment. So if it is pushing my feet into the floor, if it is taking a breath, having a look around, um, yeah, having some of those in my
And be
toolbox,
more
I think.
present. Mm.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm.
How about you, Helen? What comes to mind for your open, aware, and engaged after this
Well,
topic?
for me, I guess it's just to continue to notice notice my thoughts, not be defined. They don't have to lead to my actions. Um, because the world we live in just now, I feel there's always going to be lists to do, and it's a constant battle to get it
Hmm.
done. And I want to kind of name what this is, name this story that I'm showing up to. What is it? What's leading me to do that? Is it that my worth depends on how busy I am, or um, I don't know. So I'm going to really kind of think about that over the next wee while, and I'm going to choose for engaged. I'm going to choose just to maybe just connect more with what matters, even if the kitchen is a mess. I mean, I'm going away for a couple of days with a really good friend. I'm really excited. We're going away tomorrow. So I'm just going to leave this house and I'm going to ask for it to be in the state I've left it. But I'm going to just focus on having a good time. And when I come back, if it's a mess, I'm just going to try not to lose my top. But you know,
Yeah.
living the life that we want, it doesn't take speed, does it? It doesn't take speed. It needs space for us to kind of think about our next move and how we want to show up. So I'm going to
Yeah,
try and
for
work on all
sure.
of that stuff.
Nice. Okay. Well, I look forward to checking in with how all this has gone. I feel like we've given ourselves really kind of actionable, tangible things to take away there. And I'm looking forward to kind of hearing what the listeners' thoughts on this
Yeah.
is as well.
Yeah. It's a bit of a kind of closing reflection on what we're just saying, something that's just kind of coming up to me. But we don't need more hours in the day at all, do we? I find myself saying that a lot. We don't need more hours in the day. That's a lot of BS. What we need is more connection, more of what matters. Not trying to squeeze more into what we don't have. We need to do more of the things that matter.
Yeah, definitely putting our energy in that for sure.
Yay. Mhm.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Helen. This always feels so nice and just like
Yeah, we can we can start our busy days now.
yeah, yeah. With some grounding moments within it as well.
Yeah, for sure. That was nice to chat about that.
For sure. Okay, fabulous. I'll speak to you soon, Helen. You take care.
Okay, Natalie, see you
Thank
later.
you. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone listening too. Bye.